All right, cool. So what we have here is a multidimensional matrix of ourselves. So it works in two ways. It's all part of us. So it is who we are in our greater being. But it also works on the external. As above, so below, as within, so without, the normal principles. And why I did it was just to try and simplify how we see it and how we experience things, because it can get very complicated. When we're working on stuff, when we're doing the shadow work, when we do all that, what are we working with? Are we working with our own stuff? Are we working with personal traumas, events? Are we working with a collective? Are we working with archetypes? Are we working with whose crap are we sorting out? And at what level are we dealing with that crap? Okay, and also what I do is I put it with the chakras. So the different colors of different chakras. And it's also dynamic. You're not stuck in one of those places.
Yeah, you jump up and
down. You jump up and down, you're in and out, you forward, backwards.
Yeah.
It's a very dynamic system. When you dream, you contact your subconscious, but you're also in contact with other entities or ourselves. And when you're in deep sleep, you really go and travel the other realms and get educated there in whichever way it is. So it's constantly happening, and we jump through this during the day as well. For me, it's just a little bit easier to know which one I'm working with when. So the different densities, I'll explain the densities as a concept, and then we can look at the bodies, because then we can realize which part we're working with. Okay, so densities is basically how much light can be contained in a certain entity or form, but it's also the level of consciousness. So there's different levels of consciousness that expands. So it's an ever expanding spiral that we go up. We evolve and we grow and we open, and then we get to the next level. So these are not hard levels, and within these levels, there's various sub-levels. So, but we don't need to know. All we want to do with this is to have a general idea or a working map that's easy for us to work with as a tool.
Yeah.
So this was basically created as a tool. And if you want to, it's on the thing, you can download it, whatever. And it's very nice to, even on your phone or print it or whatever, you just go do the little close the eyes and you go. And it's amazing how accurate that actually is, at what level it is. Because you think you're going to know and you're going to hit for the top, like the highest ones, but you end up, after a while, you lose complete track and you move the thing around. You go, okay, there. That's what's presenting itself. So it's not only the state of your own vibration, it's what you're sensing and what is interacting with you as well. This is a tool to help you. If you're stuck or you're panicking or you're unsure, you're confused or whatever, just use it as a tool to point you in a direction. So it's just the permission stuff to point you to explore different things. So first density is matter. So I didn't go into subatomic particles and all that kind of stuff. So we just take it as normal rocks and stuff. The most dense material we have. So that would be stars and planets and rocks and minerals and the elements. Yeah. So fire, earth, water, air, ether. And how those elements combine to form physical matter. Yeah. or if you want to see it as a vibrational state, it's a very slow vibrational state with a slow consciousness. So we perceive that rocks and stuff and crystals and things are unconscious, but their consciousness is just very slow. So everything is conscious. It's just at what level are you conscious? Okay, so that's first density. So it's marked in red. That's the first manifestation. Survival, very basic level consciousness and matterness. Okay, second density will be more like what we understand as plant forms, plant and animals. It's like it starts moving towards the light. So plants move towards the light. So animals have movement. But then you also have all the other things that come with that. So we're moving up into sacral chakra. Yeah, so we're in orange. So basically, as the soul or consciousness evolves, we go from that very low vibrational state, and then when we get to animal, and there's a one-to-one interaction, they're starting to become a little bit of the emotional stuff, connections and awareness, a little bit a wider awareness of things around us. Third density is where we are. So we third density beings. So it's now emotional, mental, but also self-awareness. We go more out of the collective pack or school mentality or forest mentality of the second density, and we go into more personal self-awareness. And that is basically where we start experiencing our power and our connection with social connections in the chakras, which will be the solar plexus chakra. So survival, sacral is interpersonal connections, and then solar plexus, societal, tribe, cultural, political, religious, or anything that's group, that in a group mentality, but it's a separated group existence. The struggle is for power in that. What's our standing? How much money do we have? What's our title? All that kind of stuff. Where do I live? How big's my house? How big's my car? All that's like status, and this is our way of signaling our status in the group or our power in the group. So we very much third density at the moment. And the biggest thing here is that because you started, the higher functions of the mind starts coming on, the prefrontal cortex and all that, there's reasoning ability, there's self-awareness, there's logic, reason. But with that comes the worries and depression and anxiety, because we're stuck in events of the past and we project those into the future, and we worry and get anxious about that. So it's a dual-edged sword, where because we are more aware and we become aware of time, so now we project and travel up and down time mentally by worrying about the past and projecting that into the future. So what we spoke about on the first session, the worries and all that kind of stuff. Then we move into fourth density, which is heart. Heart is love, because love combines and unites. We're starting to combine as individuals, but we're coming together as a group because it's an expression, higher expression of love.
Yeah.
So love to self on an individual level, and then we start looking at love for others, to gatherings and communities and all that kind of stuff. So there's a movement towards not a great goo of nondescript, losing yourself in the Borg kind of vibe that we think. It's like you still maintain your identity, but it's the sum of all parts.
Yeah.
Making the greater whole.
The collective bond comes from it.
Yeah, so it's basically the unconscious collective becomes the conscious collective. The expansion of consciousness is happening on that level.
Yeah.
So that can be technology, so AI and all that,
Yeah.
but it's also shrooms, psychedelics, all that kind of thing. So it's also like 10 years ago, you never heard of that, although it was practiced, but now it's like every second dudes start doing ayahuasca or shrooms or LSD or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just going, whoa. So it's like opening doors of perception. But also there's a lot more natural plugging ins, awakenings. So a lot more people experiencing natural awakening compared to 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. So the shift actually started happening from about actually the 80s into the 2000s. So because it's a long process, so 100 to 700 years. So it's not just like, okay, now we're in fourth beat, but Earth has already made that shift. We are very confused because we haven't, but we're picking up on that vibration, and that's why all of this stuff is now coming to the fore. 20 years ago, we would not be having this conversation. So collectively, we have moved a lot. We opened to channeling. We opened like the disclosure thing with ETs.
Yeah.
It's like we're getting ready to meet the neighbors.
Yeah.
All of those things are now becoming like normal. Telepathy is normal. Mass consciousness is normal. We carry it in our pockets. What's the internet?
Yeah.
Collective consciousness. Everybody's like ideas and breakfast is up there, and so that's collective consciousness.
Yeah.
If you think of somebody, you phone them, what's that? Telepathy. Telekinesis, you have a remote, you squeeze the thing, the TV changes. Action at a distance. We're using technology to do what we should actually be doing naturally. Okay, quickly through the other stuff. Kind of quickly. Blocks. So what blocks us? So this is internal, external, the chakra system as well. So we go on first one, is root. So the block there is fear. The sacral, we are uncertainty or shame. As we move up to solar, it's doubt or guilt. Then we go into the heart. So heart is exchange, love, sharing. The throat is your power, your own power, but also your unity to speak, to bring ideas down and to share ideas.
Yeah.
Then we go into third eye, connection to your true self. So this is wholeness. So you go from unity, the idea of in fifth density, uniting with people to form groups. Sixth density, those groups become a social memory complex, which is like an entity, or that becomes like a whole community or wholeness.
Yeah.
Then we go into the last block on the seventh, or the crown chakra. Actually, there's no real blocks there on the crown because it's a reflection of your vibration when we go through the chakras. And in the seventh density is also that last bit of completion. So when you go return to source, so it's looking past the eye. So there's becomes no eye, and it goes back into complete oneness, all that is. Operations, where do we operate from? First, reptilian mind, so that's the brainstem, instinctual reactions, fear, procreation, all that kind of stuff. Then we move to the limbic system, which is the emotional amygdala, how we process emotions and all that. Then into the mental or prefrontal cortex, so where the reasoning mind. So from mammalian to human mind, basically the extra little bit that we got in front that we're supposed to use for thinking. So that's part of the physical structure of the brain, how the mind operates through the brain. But then there's also stuff beyond the brain, which is the psychic skills, your awareness of energy, astral forms, energetic contact, other people's energy, the departed's energy, energy in places, all that kind of stuff. So that's why I use the psychic as a mode of operation for that part of the mind.
Yeah.
Next level up is the soul. So the soul, with all its karma, with its experiences in its many lives, which we see as a progression through time, but it all happens at the same time. All our lives are lived in parallel dimensions, and it's actually parallel lives. So it's like a deck of cards stuck on top of each other. But because we use time as a way to navigate as the fourth dimensional thing, time and space, what that means is we're spreading the cards out so we can see it as different things. And as those things move, it becomes a movie. So that's how we perceive our life and our journey through time. But all of that is still in time-space. That space-time and time-space is all on top of each other, all happening at the same time.
Good theory. But everyone, we've been the good and the bad. We've been Hitler and we've been the Jews. We're all experiencing everything all at once. But you can go back in time. So you could come back as a Chinese lady in 14 AD.
Yeah.
That is how you could come back to the egg.
Okay, so that's more individualized, what we perceive as our journey of the soul. So when we experience, after near-death experiences, what we see as the afterlife, we would look at that soul's journey through different levels, different realms, learning different lessons, picking up karma, although karma is just action. So it's hard to balance certain actions, and that happens over different lifetimes. If you look at the reincarnational journey of the soul, but all of those souls, or all those experiences and all those lifetimes happens or comes together in the higher self. So for me, the higher self, the definition of the higher self is all the aspects of that, all those souls, and it can be one soul's, all the journey of that one soul, but also separate souls. And that's where we get into the idea of twin flames and other us's and our soul partners and whatever, and also our soul family. Because normally the soul family can be aspects of one higher self, or it can be different higher selves, souls interacting with each other as a collective. And then all of that combines into spirit, the universal spirit, the intelligent energy that flows through all. That then individuates into what can be seen as your higher self. And that comes down as your individual soul, your journey that you choose as a unique aspect of the divine to experience and express itself in your own unique way. And that soul then embodies as this body. And it communicates through the body, but also the higher mind, what we call intuition, psychic abilities or channeling or things like that. That is all just self talking to self, to higher self or other self, right down into the physical, the mental, the prefrontal the emotional, the amygdala, so that the brain is a transformer, transducer of the mind to create a lived experience in 3D. So the roles, what is the role of first, second, whatever density we're in? First is to manifest, so as to turn energy into matter. E equals mc squared, basically. So it's where it becomes matter, where things matter is in first density, rocks, earth, planets, stuff like that, bodies. Second level is relationships. How do we relate with people, or your relation to nature, the universe, everything else. So animals and things will have a relationship to nature, or to the pack, or to the herd, or to their species, or whatever. So there's an interspecies relationship. So it's more a species and collective consciousness on that level. But it's all about relating. For us, it's impersonal, one-on-one relationship. So sacral. And how we experience that and express ourselves there. Also the power struggles, one-on-one power struggles in relationships, all that kind of stuff. That's sacral. Then as we move up to the third is experience. That's what we're here for. We're here to experience stuff. And we experience it through all 9 senses, through all 7 densities, all of that. But our focus is on the physical, mental, emotion. And we make sense of the experience. So normal waking consciousness is how we experience.
Yeah.
And that experience can be governed by your belief systems, subconscious programs, shadows, a lot of stuff. How open and aware you are, your attention, your focus, your awareness, expand that experience. And to be more aware of what we're actually experiencing. Fourth dimension is love. That's the expression. So we move into more of an expressive state. If we're full of love, how do we express that?
In every action.
In every action, in our relationship, up and down the circle, towards nature, to animals, to all of that things. But so that's the heart opening. You open the heart to express yourself. Yeah. Fifth, co-creation. So that's understanding all of the bodies, understanding how we experience, express ourselves. It's filtering through the choice that we made from service to self to service to others, and forming groups and social memory complexes and all that. That's co-create. 6 is the creating of the I, the identity. So it's a separation, the awareness of you as being a part of existence, but separate from existence. And then by the 7th, there's no I. So you go beyond the I, even conceptualizing you saw yourself as a group or anything separate. So you go back, surrender completely, and return to source. Right, awareness levels. Awareness levels from the bottom up. So it's unconscious, semi-conscious, kind of where we are most of the time. Because we're in auto mode when we're sitting in traffic driving. You don't know how you actually got there because your mind's busy and your emotions are running and you're actually not present here now. So you're missing half your life. Actually, about 95% of your life is just semi-conscious. Mm-hmm. Then we move into a conscious state where we're aware of our consciousness, where we start being more aware in our daily life, our actions, our feelings, our thoughts. our interactions, our relationship with, and our standing in culture surrounding all that. Then as we move into fourth, as the subconscious becomes conscious, okay, and that's why it's like in the psychic, but it's also in the plant medicine or meditation or certain states of awakening and all. So the subconscious becomes conscious.
Yeah.
And where it gets very rough, because that's also the shadow. So that's where all the shadow work comes out. And like we were saying earlier, it's now clearly just being displayed for us.
Yeah.
It's not, it's not even hidden in. From the fifth density onwards, or first stage really, in our journey, is where we start becoming conscious of the superconscious. So our connection to the divine, those parts of realization, self-realization, awakening, where we see ourselves in the oneness and the unity, and also connecting to higher entities, the higher self, guides, angels, all the other stuff. So we become conscious of those influences and energy streams. Then we move up into unity consciousness, that awareness of the oneness of life. Those small little glimpses. Then we go through that into pure consciousness, where we start going beyond the I, beyond my experience, and we just open up in pure source energy or source consciousness. The lessons that we learn or come here to experience through all of these, one, foundational, is just how to be in this body. Two, social, how to interact with the pack, garden and forest around you, all those kind of things. The third is personal choice. So that personal choice, service to self, service to others. Then we move into the realms of love on fourth, wisdom on fifth, balance on sixth, between love and wisdom, source and physical expression, the real body. So that's basically six density work that we also doing at the same time to get the wisdom, to express the love, but and to find the balance between that without hurting ourselves or others in the process, which is a delicate balance, to say the least. Then final is to turn away from all of that and merge into source, to give up the I, to give up idea of service. There's no more service, and it's returning to source, into unity. The scope of that, how we experience that part of our creation or our density or our being. First one is becoming. So becoming physical stuff, interacting with physical stuff. The second part is reacting. So very much instinctual, like action-reaction thing. Somebody shouts at you, you shout at them back. If somebody's nice to you, you be nice back. So you're just reacting. There's no like conscious thing behind it. It's like a dog hears something, they bark. That's it. If it doesn't like you, it bites you. Done. There's no higher thought involved. It's reaction, action, reaction, where karma also comes in. In the third, where we're very focused on the doing. So third density is action. So we can think of something, but we have to put it into action to make it real in this world. So it's all part of your action and your doing is how we show up in this world. Yeah, so that's why everybody's so busy doing. So yeah, we're human doings. We're not human beings. because we have to do all the time. And even if we're doing nothing, we're still doing. So it's all about the doing in the 3D. As we move up to the 4D, or fourth density is responding, is more about love, is about responding, even in kindness or compassion or understanding. So it's being able to respond, responsibility, being able to respond to whatever happens to you and for you. And then we move up into understanding. And the understanding there is the understanding that all our belief systems, all the negative stuff, all the events that happen to us is happening for us. So it's pointing towards us for lessons, for growth, to develop trust, to break down our trust so that we can rebuild our trust the right way around, to let go of certain ideas, and to understand our environment, to understand all our bodies, all the different realms, all of that stuff, how we fit into it, to understand our psychic and physical and emotional and mental and higher selves and all that kind of stuff, how that comes together. Then we move into being. So finally we become human beings, eventually, maybe, hopefully, where we can just sit and be. And we can trust that for me to influence the world, or for me to have value or meaning in life, is enough that I exist, that I'm used a unique part, and that my filters and everything brings a gift to all of creation. So then I can just relax and be. And that's all that you have to do. You don't have to sit here and do anything. You don't have to listen. You don't have to talk. You can have a nice little snooze. Doesn't matter. You can be stoned. You can be normal. You can be whatever. There's just being. Okay, all of those things is extra filters on the being, which sometimes clarifies and sometimes distorts a little bit. But it's still in the being. There's nothing else that you have to do. You had to do to get here, and you have to do later when we finish. But for now, all you just have to be is just be. And then when we really get to a point beyond even being, is just is it. When you can just simply is and is. But having gone through the becoming, reacting, doing, responding, understanding, being, all of that stuff is now just flowing. Is it? We are always in all of this. We experience all of this all at the same time. It is internal, but it's also external. So just like we walk into somebody else's house when we journey, we also walk into our own house.
Yeah.
So that is why that relationship is there. And maybe it depends on what floor of your house you are. So you can think of a multi-story building. If you're on the ground floor, you can only see what's happening here. If you're on the first floor, you'll see a little bit more. But if you're on the 7th floor, you'll check over the harbor and the SARS and everywhere else. Depends how tall your building is and how far you can see. But that's just, so it's like, where are you in your building? Your soul, your etheric, your blueprint is this building, but there's many rooms in my house. So which house or which room are you visiting? And sometimes you pop in and visit, sometimes you just stay in certain rooms. So what we call spiritual development or progression is we just move up into a different floor and we stay there. Doesn't mean we can't go down, even into the basement. Doesn't mean we can't go stand on the top of the roof, but we have a level that our little level that we're at is that room that we occupy or that we live in. And then we get bored of that and we go to the next floor and we expand once again our spiral towards the light. So from second density, even first density up, the movement is towards the light. Plants move towards the light, we move towards the light body moves towards the light, everything moves back to light.